Kang Do-hyun was tired. He had been flying through space for 3 weeks straight, delivering medical supplies to stations that nobody else wanted to visit. His ship, the Wandering Star, was old and made strange noises when it landed. But it was home. "Docking complete," said Yuna, the AI that lived inside his ship. Her voice was calm and gentle, like a kind older sister. "Welcome to Nexus Prime, Do-hyun. You have 12 hours before your next job." Do-hyun stretched his back and heard it crack. He was only 32 years old, but some days he felt like 60. The scars on his body told stories he never wanted to tell, stories from the war back on Earth, stories he tried to forget every single day. "I just need fuel and maybe some real food," he said. "Something that doesn't come from a packet." Nexus Prime was a massive space station that floated between 3 different star systems. It was neutral ground. Hundreds of alien species came here to trade, to talk, and sometimes to hide. Humans were still new to all of this. Earth had only joined the Galactic Concord 5 years ago. To most aliens, humans were nothing special, just another weak species from a small planet. Do-hyun walked through the crowded market district. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved around him. Some had scales, some had too many eyes, some floated instead of walking. He was used to it by now. He kept his head down and looked for a food stall. That was when he heard the scream. It was a small sound, a child's cry. Do-hyun stopped walking. He looked toward the source of the sound and saw a crowd forming near a fancy-looking shop. In the center of the crowd stood a tall alien woman. She had silver skin that seemed to glow under the station lights. 4 arms extended from her shoulders, each one ending in long, elegant fingers. Her eyes were violet and bright like stars. She wore robes made of fabric that probably cost more than Do-hyun's entire ship. At her feet, a small girl was kneeling. The girl was also Therian, with the same silver skin, but her clothes were simple, a servant. She was shaking badly, and there was red liquid spreading across the tall woman's expensive robes. Wine. The girl had spilled wine on her. "You stupid, worthless creature," the tall woman said. Her voice was cold and sharp, like a blade made of ice. "Do you have any idea what you have done?" "Please, Your Highness," the girl cried. "I am sorry. I am so sorry. It was an accident." "Accident?" The woman raised one of her 4 hands. "I will teach you what happens when you touch royalty." Do-hyun did not think. He did not plan. His body simply moved. One moment he was standing in the crowd. The next moment he was between the woman and the child. His hand was wrapped around the woman's wrist, stopping her strike in mid-air. The entire market went silent. Thousands of aliens stopped what they were doing. They stared at the human who had just done the unthinkable. The woman looked at Do-hyun's hand on her wrist. Then she looked at his face. Her violet eyes burned with a fury that could melt steel. "You dare," she whispered. "You dare to touch me?" "She is just a child," Do-hyun said. His voice was calm and steady. "She made a mistake. Do you know who I am, human?" The woman pulled her arm free from his grip. "I am Princess Velara of the Therian Empire, 3rd daughter of Emperor Korath, and you have just committed a crime punishable by death." Guards in heavy armor pushed through the crowd. They surrounded Do-hyun with weapons pointed at his chest. He counted 6 of them, all Therian, all huge, all very angry. "Wait!" someone shouted from the crowd. An older alien with gray skin stepped forward. He wore the badge of a station official. "Your Highness, this is Nexus Prime. Neutral ground. The law here forbids killing outside the arena, even for royalty." Valara's jaw tightened. She clearly did not like being told what she could not do, but she also knew the laws. Breaking them would cause problems even her father could not fix. "Very well," she said slowly. A terrible smile spread across her face. "Then I invoke the right of Vashkar." The crowd gasped. The official's face went pale. "Your Highness," the official stammered, "perhaps we could discuss this. The human clearly did not understand our customs. He is from a young species. They do not know better." "The right has been invoked," Velara said. "It cannot be taken back. This human will face me in the arena of ascension. And when I am done with him, his entire species will be marked as cowards if they ever refuse such a challenge again." She turned to Do-hyun. She was taller than him by nearly a foot. Her 4 arms crossed over her chest as she looked down at him like he was an insect. "You won't last a minute, human," she said. 3 days. Prepare to die." She walked away. Her guards followed. The crowd slowly began to move again, but everyone was looking at Do-hyun, some with pity, some with amusement. Nobody looked at him with hope. The servant girl tugged at his sleeve. Tears were running down her silver face. "Thank you," she whispered. "But you should not have done that. She will kill you. She has never lost a fight. Never." "It's okay," Do-hyun said. He was not sure why he said it. It was probably not okay at all. His communicator beeped. Yuna's voice came through. "Do-hyun, I have just received an urgent message from Commander Tae-woo at the Earth Embassy. He wants to see you immediately. He sounds very unhappy." Do-hyun sighed. "Of course he does." He looked up at the high ceiling of the station, at the lights that pretended to be stars. 3 days. He had 3 days to figure out how to survive a fight against an alien princess who had 4 arms and had been training for combat since before he was born. He thought about running. He could go back to his ship and fly away. Nobody would blame him. Nobody expected a human to fight a Therian royal and live. But then he thought about what would happen next. Earth would be marked as a coward species. Every human in space would be treated even worse than before, all because he wanted to save one little girl from getting hurt. No, he could not run. "Tell Tae-woo I'm on my way," he said. He started walking toward the embassy. Behind him, the little servant girl watched him go. She held her hands together and whispered a prayer to gods that humans did not know. She prayed for a miracle, because that was what this human was going to need. Commander Tae-woo was not happy. In fact, Do-hyun had never seen the old man look so angry. Tae-woo had once been Do-hyun's commanding officer during the unification wars on Earth. Now, he was the ambassador for all of humanity in the Galactic Concord. His hair had turned white from the stress of the job. "Do you understand what you have done?" Tae-woo asked. He was pacing back and forth in his office. "Do you have any idea what is at stake here?" "She was going to hurt a child," Do-hyun said simply. He was sitting in a chair watching his old commander wear a hole in the floor. "I don't care if she was going to blow up a planet," Tae-woo shouted. "You touched Therian royalty. You embarrassed her in front of thousands of witnesses, and now you have to fight her in the arena of ascension." "What happens if I lose?" Tae-woo stopped pacing. He looked at Do-hyun with tired eyes. "If you lose, Earth loses its seat on the Galactic Concord. We will be labeled a lesser species. Every human in space will become a second-class citizen. Everything we have worked for in the last 5 years will be destroyed." Do-hyun was quiet for a moment. He had not known the stakes were that high. He had just seen a child in danger and acted without thinking. It was the same instinct that had kept him alive during the war. Now it might doom his entire species. "I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't know." Tae-woo sat down heavily in his chair. He suddenly looked very old. "I know you didn't. That's the worst part. You did what any good person would do, and now you have to pay the price for it." "Then I'll fight her," Do-hyun said, "and I'll try to win." Tae-woo laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Win? Do-hyun, the betting odds across the galaxy are 500 to 1 against you. Therians are the greatest warriors in known space. They have 4 arms. Their bones are stronger than steel. They have natural blades that grow from their forearms. And Valara is the best of them. She has killed over 40 opponents in the arena. She has never even been wounded. I've faced bad odds before. This is different. This isn't war. This isn't fighting other humans. This is facing a predator species that has been perfecting combat for 10,000 years. Do-hyun stood up. He walked to the window and looked out at the station. Thousands of aliens moved through the corridors below. Most of them probably thought he was already dead. When I was in the ghost unit, he said quietly, we had a saying. The fight isn't over until your heart stops beating. I've been shot, stabbed, burned, and left for dead more times than I can count. I'm still here. Tae-woo shook his head. Do-hyun, I was your commander. I know what you're capable of, but this is different. Maybe, but I don't have a choice, do I? If I run, humanity suffers. If I fight and lose, humanity suffers. The only way out is to win. He turned back to face Tae-woo. So help me win. Later that night, Do-hyun sat alone in his ship. Yuna had been quiet for a long time, processing data from hundreds of combat recordings. Finally, she spoke. I have analyzed 347 recorded fights involving Therian warriors, she said, including all 42 of Princess Valara's victories in the arena. What did you find? Therians are faster than humans. They are stronger than humans. Their reaction time is better than humans. In every measurable category, they are superior. That's not helpful, Yuna. I am not finished. Therians are sprinters, not marathon runners. Their bodies produce energy very quickly, but they also burn out quickly. Most of Valara's fights ended in less than 2 minutes. The longest fight she ever had was 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Do-hyun leaned forward. So she's never fought anyone who could survive past 5 minutes? Correct. Therians have dominated combat for so long that they have never needed to develop endurance. They expect to win quickly. When they don't, they have no experience to fall back on. What about her technique? Any weaknesses? She favors her upper right arm for killing strikes. I noticed a slight hesitation when she uses that arm for defensive moves. My analysis suggests an old injury that was never properly healed. She hides it well, but under pressure, it might become a liability. Do-hyun nodded slowly. A plan was starting to form in his mind. It was not a good plan. It was going to hurt, a lot, but it was the only chance he had. I need to survive long enough to tire her out, he said. Then I need to exploit that weakness. That would require you to endure significant damage, possibly fatal damage. I've done it before. There was a knock at the ship's door. Yuna checked the external cameras. It is the servant girl from the market. She appears to be alone. Do-hyun opened the door. The little Therian girl stood there, wrapped in a thin cloak. Her name was Lyra. She looked scared, but also determined. I should not be here, she said. If anyone finds out, I will be punished. Then why are you here? Because you saved me, and I want to help you. She stepped inside the ship and looked around. The princess thinks you are nothing. She thinks all humans are weak and stupid. She doesn't know anything about your people. Most aliens don't. But I watched the videos. After you saved me, I looked up information about humans, about your history, about your wars. Her eyes were wide. You are not weak. Your people fight each other with terrible weapons. You survive things that would kill other species. Why do the other aliens not know this? Because we're new here, Do-hyun said. We haven't had a chance to show anyone what we're really like. Lyra reached into her cloak and pulled out a small data chip. This contains private medical files. The princess injured her shoulder 3 years ago in a training accident. The doctors wanted to do surgery, but she refused. She did not want anyone to think she was weak. The injury still bothers her, especially when she is tired. Do-hyun took the chip. Why are you giving me this? Because she is cruel. Because she hurts people like me every day and nobody stops her. Because you were the first person who ever protected me. Tears formed in her silver eyes. Please don't die. Please show everyone that being kind doesn't make you weak. She left quickly, disappearing into the station's corridors. Do-Yun stood at his door for a long time, holding the data chip. Yuna, he said finally, increase the gravity in the training room to 3 times Earth normal. And find me every video of Valara's fights. I need to memorize her patterns. Are you sure? Training in triple gravity will be extremely painful. Do-Hyun smiled grimly. Good. Pain and I are old friends. We know each other very well. He had 3 days to prepare for the fight of his life. 3 days to find a way to beat an unbeatable opponent. 3 days to carry the weight of all humanity on his shoulders. He got to work. The arena of ascension floated in space like a giant metal flower. It was ancient, built thousands of years ago by species that no longer existed. Over 200,000 seats surrounded a circular fighting platform in the center. Today, every seat was filled. Cameras from across the galaxy pointed at the arena. Trillions of beings were watching from their homes, their ships, their planets. This was the biggest event of the year. Everyone wanted to see the arrogant human die. Do-Hyun stood in a small room beneath the arena floor. He was alone. He wore simple black clothes made for fighting. No armor, no weapons. He had asked for none. Theory and tradition allowed both fighters to choose their equipment, and he had chosen to fight with nothing but his hands. The galaxy thought he was stupid. Maybe he was. Do-Hyun, Yuna's voice came through the tiny device in his ear. Your heart rate is elevated but stable. Are you ready? No, he said honestly, but I'm going anyway. I will be with you the entire time. I will track the fight and give you updates. Thanks, Yuna. A loud horn echoed through the arena. The doors in front of Do-Hyun slid open. Bright lights blinded him for a moment. Then he started walking toward the fighting platform. The crowd was massive. The noise was incredible. Most of it was laughter. Aliens of every species pointed at him and made jokes. He heard words in dozens of languages, but he understood the meaning. They all thought he was a fool walking to his death. He climbed the steps to the platform and stood in the center. The floor was made of some kind of stone that was worn smooth from thousands of years of combat. Old bloodstains marked the surface. Most fighters who stood here did not leave alive. Then the other door opened, and Princess Valara entered. The crowd exploded with cheers. Valara walked like she owned the universe. Her silver skin glowed under the arena lights. She wore ceremonial armor that looked both beautiful and deadly. 4 curved swords rested in her 4 hands. Each blade was made from the bones of warriors she had killed. She stopped 10 feet away from Do-Hyun. Her violet eyes looked at him with complete contempt. I am surprised you came, she said. I thought your kind were cowards. My kind are many things, Do-Hyun replied. Cowards isn't one of them. The arena master's voice boomed from hidden speakers. The right of Vashkar has been invoked. This battle will continue until one fighter surrenders or dies. Princess Valara of the Therian Empire faces the human known as Kang Do-Hyun. May honor guide your blades. A gong sounded. The fight began. Valara moved like lightning. One moment she was standing still. The next moment she was in front of Do-Hyun with all 4 swords cutting through the air. He barely managed to dodge the first strike. The second one caught his arm and opened a deep cut. The third slashed across his chest. The fourth would have taken his head if he hadn't dropped to the ground at the last second. The crowd roared with approval. Valara smiled and attacked again. The next 30 seconds were the longest of Do-Hyun's life. He dodged, rolled, ducked, and twisted his body in ways that should have been impossible. Valara's blades cut him again and again. His black clothes turned red with blood. His arms, his legs, his torso, all of them were bleeding, but he was still alive. 1 minute has passed, Yuna said in his ear. Do-Hyun smiled through the blood running down his face. Valara paused. She had never seen someone smile at her during combat. Enemies begged, enemies screamed, enemies cried. They did not smile. "What is so funny, human?" she demanded. "You said I wouldn't last a minute," Do-Yun said. He wiped blood from his eyes. "It's been a minute. I'm still here." For the first time, something like doubt flickered across Valara's face, but it disappeared quickly, replaced by anger. She attacked again with even more fury than before. Do-Yun stopped trying to avoid all the attacks. There were too many. Instead, he started choosing which ones to take. He protected his head, his heart, his spine. Everything else was acceptable damage. Her blades cut into his muscles, but he kept his vital organs safe. 3 minutes, Yuna reported. Her attack speed has decreased by 12%. Her breathing is becoming labored. Do-Hyun could see it too. Valara was sweating. Her movements were slightly slower. She had never fought for this long before. Her body didn't know how to handle it. He started to fight back. His first punch was slow and clumsy. She blocked it easily. His second punch was faster. She blocked that one too, but she had to use 2 arms to do it. His third punch connected with her ribs. The crowd went silent. Nobody could believe what they had just seen. A human had hit the princess. Valara stumbled backward. She looked down at her side where Do-Hyun's fist had landed. Then she looked at him with something new in her eyes. Not contempt anymore. Something closer to confusion. "How?" she whispered. "You should be dead. Any other species would be dead by now." "Humans are different," Do-Yun said. He was breathing hard. His body was screaming in agony, but he forced himself to stand straight. "We don't know how to quit." 5 minutes, Yuna said. "This is now her longest fight ever." Valara screamed with rage and charged at him. Her attacks were wild now, driven by emotion instead of skill. Do-Hyun took more cuts, more wounds, but he also landed more hits. A kick to her leg, an elbow to her shoulder, a knee to her stomach. She was getting tired. He was getting stronger. Not stronger in his muscles. His muscles were failing, but stronger in his spirit. Every second he survived was a victory. Every blow he landed was proof that humans were not weak. 7 minutes. Her shoulder is showing signs of strain. The old injury is affecting her performance. Do-Yun focused on that shoulder. He started aiming all his attacks at her upper right side. At first, she didn't understand why. Then she realized what he was doing. "How do you know about that?" she demanded, jumping backward to create distance. "I did my research," Do-Yun said. "You should have done yours." He attacked before she could respond. His fist drove straight into her damaged shoulder with every ounce of strength he had left. Valara screamed. The sound echoed through the silent arena. She dropped one of her swords and grabbed her shoulder with her other hand. Pain twisted her beautiful face into something ugly. 10 minutes, Yuna said. "She has never fought this long. She has never been hurt like this. She doesn't know what to do." Do-Yun stood in front of her, covered in his own blood, barely able to stay on his feet. But he was still standing. And for the first time in her life, Princess Valara of the Therian Empire knew what it felt like to be afraid. The arena was completely silent. 200,000 aliens sat frozen in their seats. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. They were watching something impossible. The human was winning. Do-Hyun could barely see through the blood running into his eyes. His left arm hung uselessly at his side. Valara had cut the tendons in his elbow somewhere around minute 8. His ribs were cracked, maybe broken. Every breath felt like fire in his chest. But none of that mattered. What mattered was the look on Valara's face. The princess was afraid. For the first time in her 120 years of life, she understood what it meant to face death. Her damaged shoulder made her right arms almost useless. Her lungs burned from exhaustion. Her legs trembled with every step. She still held 2 swords in her left hands, but she no longer looked like a predator. She looked like prey. "Stay back," she said. Her voice was shaking. "Stay away from me." Do-Yun kept walking toward her, slow, steady steps. Each one hurt more than the last, but he kept walking. "You've never fought someone who wasn't afraid of you, have you?" he asked. "I am not afraid," she screamed. But her eyes told a different story. "Yes, you are, and that's okay." Do-Yun stopped a few feet away from her. "Fear is normal. Fear keeps you alive. The difference between us is that humans have learned to live with fear. We feel it, and then we do the thing anyway." "You should be dead," Valara whispered. "I have cut you dozens of times. You should have bled out by now." "Probably, but my body hasn't figured that out yet." She attacked. It was desperate and sloppy. Her sword swung at him with none of the grace she had shown at the beginning of the fight. Do-Yun stepped inside her reach and grabbed her wrist with his one working hand. Then he headbutted her directly in the face. The crack of impact echoed through the arena. Valara staggered backward, silver blood pouring from her nose. She dropped another sword. Her vision was blurry. She couldn't understand how this was happening. 12 minutes, Yuna said in Do-Hyun's ear. "You are losing too much blood. You have maybe 3 more minutes before you collapse." 3 minutes. He had to end this in 3 minutes. He moved forward again. Valara swung her remaining sword at his chest. He didn't try to dodge. He let the blade cut into his flesh and then trapped it against his body with his arm. She tried to pull it back, but he held on tight. Then he punched her in the damaged shoulder again. She screamed and released the sword. Now she had no weapons. She tried to hit him with her fists, but her arms had no strength left. Her blows bounced off him like raindrops. Do-Hyun grabbed her by the throat with his one working hand. He swept her legs out from under her. She fell onto her back with a heavy crash. He followed her down, landing on top of her, his hand still around her neck. For a long moment, neither of them moved. She stared up at him with wide, terrified eyes. He looked down at her with an expression she couldn't understand. It wasn't hate. It wasn't triumph. It was something softer. "Yield," he said quietly. "The fight is over. Yield, and you can live." "I cannot yield," she whispered. Tears were forming in her violet eyes. "If I yield to a human, I will be disgraced forever. My father will disown me. My sisters will mock me. Everything I have ever worked for will be gone. And if you die, you get nothing at all." In the royal viewing box, Emperor Korath watched with an unreadable expression. His guards stood ready to intervene, but he held up a hand to stop them. He wanted to see how this would end. Around the arena, the crowd began to chant, "Kill! Kill! Kill!" They wanted blood. They always wanted blood. That was why they came to the arena. Do-Yun ignored them. He kept his eyes on Valara. "I'm not going to kill you," he said. The chanting stopped. Nobody understood what the human had just said. "What?" Valara asked. "I said I'm not going to kill you. That's not why I'm here. I didn't come to the arena to take your life. I came to prove a point." "What point?" "That humans are not weak. That mercy is not cowardice. That there are other ways to win besides killing." He released her throat and stood up slowly. Every movement sent waves of agony through his body. "Get up." Valara didn't move. She lay on the stone floor, staring up at him in complete confusion. "Get up," Do-Hyun said again. "The fight isn't over. You haven't yielded. So get up and keep fighting if you want to, or stay down and we can end this like civilized people." "I don't understand," she whispered. "You have won. You have beaten me. Why won't you kill me?" "Because killing you would be easy. Anyone can kill. It takes strength to let your enemy live." He extended his good hand toward her. "And because I didn't save that little girl just to become a killer myself. That's not who I am. That's not who humans are." The arena was completely silent. Millions of years of tradition said that arena combat ended in death. Nobody had ever shown mercy before. Nobody had ever offered their hand to a defeated enemy. Valara looked at his hand. She looked at his face. She saw no tricks there, no hidden plans. Just a tired, bloody human who had decided not to kill her. Slowly, she reached up and took his hand. He pulled her to her feet. They stood face to face in the center of the arena, surrounded by thousands of confused aliens. "This is not possible," Valara said softly. "This is not how it works." "Maybe it's time to change how things work," Do-Yun replied. Then his eyes rolled back in his head, and he collapsed. The blood loss had finally caught up with him. His body had given everything it had. Now there was nothing left. Valara caught him before he hit the ground. She held the unconscious human in her arms and looked up at the crowd, at the cameras, at her father in the royal box. "Send medical help," she commanded. Her voice was stronger now. "This human is under my protection. Anyone who harms him will answer to me." The arena exploded into chaos. Nobody knew what had just happened. Nothing made sense anymore. The rules had been broken. The traditions had been shattered. But one thing was clear to everyone watching. The human had won. And he had done it without becoming a monster. In her servant quarters, little Lyra watched the broadcast with tears streaming down her face. She pressed her hands together and whispered a prayer of thanks. The miracle had happened. Do-Hyun woke up 3 days later in a medical bay that was far too fancy for him. The walls were made of polished white stone. The bed was softer than anything he had ever slept on. Strange machines hummed around him, scanning his body with blue light. "Good morning," Yuna's voice said from a speaker somewhere in the room. "You have been unconscious for 72 hours. The Therian medical team has repaired most of your injuries. You are expected to make a full recovery." "Where am I?" His voice came out as a rough croak. "You are in the Imperial Medical Wing of the Therian Embassy. Princess Valara ordered the best doctors in the galaxy to treat you. Your room has more security than most military bases." Do-Yun tried to sit up. Pain shot through his chest, but it was manageable. He looked down at his body. His left arm was wrapped in some kind of regeneration sleeve. His chest was covered in healing patches. He counted at least 30 places where he had been cut or stabbed during the fight. The door opened. Commander Taewoo walked in, followed by a medical drone carrying fruit and water. The old man's face was strange. Do-Hyun couldn't tell if he was angry or relieved. "You're awake," Taewoo said. "Apparently." Taewoo sat down in a chair beside the bed. For a long moment, he just stared at Do-Hyun without speaking. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" he finally asked. "I won a fight." "You did more than win a fight. You changed everything." Taewoo leaned forward. "The Galactic Concord held an emergency meeting yesterday. They've officially upgraded humanity from emerging species to notable civilization. Do you understand what that means?" Do-Hyun shook his head. "It means we have rights now. Real rights. We can vote on galactic matters. We can own property on any planet. Our ships can travel anywhere without special permits. Humans are finally being treated as equals." Taewoo's voice was shaking. "And it's all because of you." "I just didn't want to die," Do-Yun said honestly. "No, you didn't want to kill. That's what impressed them. Every species in the galaxy expected you to rip out Valara's throat when you had the chance. When you showed mercy instead, it made them see humans differently. We're not just another violent species fighting for survival. We have principles. We have honor." The door opened again. This time, Princess Valara walked in. She looked different from the last time Do-Hyun had seen her. The arrogance was gone from her face. She moved carefully, like someone who was still learning how to walk after being knocked down for the first time. "Leave us," she said to Taewoo. The commander looked at Do-Yun, who nodded. Taewoo left the room, and the door closed behind him. Valara stood by the bed. She didn't sit down. She seemed uncomfortable, like she wasn't sure how to have this conversation. "I came to ask you a question." she said finally. Ask. Why didn't you kill me? Do-hyun had thought about this question during his long recovery sleep. He had dreamed about the fight, about the moment when he had her throat in his hand. He had felt the choice in front of him, kill or spare, hatred or mercy. Because killing you would have made me the monster they expected me to be, he said. They thought humans were savages, wild animals from a wild planet. If I had killed you, they would have been right. Humans would have been just another violent species. Nothing special. And now? Now they know we're different. We can be dangerous. We can be deadly. But we can also choose not to be. That's the real power. Not the ability to kill, but the choice to spare. Valara was quiet for a long time. Then she did something that shocked Do-hyun more than any attack in the arena. She knelt beside his bed. I have lived for 120 years, she said. I have been taught that strength means dominance. That power means crushing your enemies. That mercy is weakness. She looked up at him with eyes that held no pride anymore. You have shown me that everything I believed was wrong. I wouldn't go that far. I have requested reassignment from my father. I wish to serve as the Therian liaison to Earth. I want to learn more about your people, about how you think, about why you choose mercy when you could choose victory. You might not like what you find. Humans aren't always merciful. We've done terrible things to each other throughout our history. Yes, I have been studying your records, your wars, your cruelty, your capacity for destruction. She stood up. But I have also seen your capacity for kindness, for sacrifice, for protecting the weak even when it costs everything. That is what I wish to understand. The door opened one more time. A small figure rushed in before anyone could stop her. Little Lyra ran to Do-hyun's bedside and grabbed his hand. You're awake, she cried. Tears of joy were running down her silver face. I was so scared. They said you might not wake up. They said you lost too much blood. I'm hard to kill, Do-hyun said with a small smile. You saved me twice, in the market and in the arena. The whole galaxy saw what you did. They're calling you the merciful human. They're telling stories about you on every planet. Do-hyun groaned. I don't want to be famous. I just want to fly my ship and deliver cargo. Valara smiled. It was a strange expression on her face, like she wasn't used to making it. I think your quiet life is over, human. You have become a symbol whether you like it or not. 1 week later, Do-hyun stood in the docking bay of Nexus Prime. His ship, the Wandering Star, was fully repaired and refueled. Yuna had already completed the pre-flight checks. Everything was ready, but before he could leave, a small crowd had gathered to see him off. Commander Tae-woo was there with other humans from the embassy. Lyra was there, wearing new clothes that were much nicer than her old servant robes. Valara had arranged for her to be freed from service and given an education, and Valara herself was there, standing apart from the others. She wore simpler clothes now, no more royal armor, no more bone swords. She looked almost normal, almost humble. Where will you go? She asked. I have a cargo job waiting in the Outer Rim, medical supplies for a colony that needs them. After everything that happened, you're going back to delivering cargo. It's what I do. It's who I am. Do-hyun turned to look at his ship. I'm not a hero. I'm not a symbol. I'm just a guy with a ship who sometimes ends up in situations that are way over his head. You are more than that, Valara said quietly. You showed the entire galaxy what humans are capable of, not just the fighting. Anyone can fight. You showed them the heart. Do-hyun didn't know how to respond to that. He was never good with compliments. Come visit Earth sometime, he said instead. I'll show you around. We have some beautiful places. I would like that. He walked up the ramp to his ship. At the top, he turned around one more time. The small crowd waved at him. Lyra was crying again. Tewu gave him a respectful salute. Valara simply nodded. The ramp closed. The engines powered up. The wandering star lifted off the docking bay floor and flew out through the station's massive doors. "Where to, Do-hyun?" Yuna asked. "The outer rim. That medical delivery won't complete itself." "Very well. I have plotted the fastest route. We should arrive in approximately 6 days." Do-hyun leaned back in his pilot's chair and watched the stars stretch into lines as the ship entered hyperspace. He was tired. His body was still healing, and he knew that his life would never be the same again. But some things hadn't changed. There were still people out there who needed help, still cargo that needed to be delivered, still a job to do. He smiled and closed his eyes. Somewhere across the galaxy, trillions of beings were talking about the human who had fought a princess and won. They were debating what it meant. Some thought humans were dangerous. Some thought humans were admirable. Some weren't sure what to think. But they all agreed on one thing. Humanity was no longer a species to be ignored. They had earned their place among the stars, and that was just the beginning.